Hello and welcome to another Posted in the Past video. Today I'm going to talk about an aspect of the Mayflower. When I was trying to source postcards for my second book, Second Delivery, I wanted to include a small section that illustrated the story of the Mayflower. So that meant finding postcards from the UK, from Holland and from America. And I would use these postcards to illustrate the story of the Mayflower and then research the families involved in who received the cards, using genealogy in the same way that I have with all of the postcards that I've included in both of my books. And so that meant using the census returns in the UK and also in America, where there are similar records, but they are actually sometimes more detailed and very, very, very useful. So the postcard I'm going to talk about today is this one, which depicts John Alden and his wife Priscilla. Now, Priscilla Mullins, as she was, sailed to America with her father William, who was a bootmaker from Dorking in Surrey, and with his wife, and also James, a son. So the four of them set sail for America. Now, Williams was actually a backer of the trip, so the family weren't going necessarily for religious reasons. Unfortunately, William Mullins and his wife and son didn't survive the first year in America. So Priscilla, as a young woman who was still a teenager, was all alone in America. And she eventually married John Alden, depicted in this postcard. And John had joined the Mayflower in Southampton, and he was a carpenter. So he was another passenger who wasn't actually going to America for religious reasons. The postcard was sent to a young schoolgirl in Williamsburg, Cara Armistead. Her father, Carey, was a lawyer, and two of her brothers would also become lawyers. Carey was also head of the Democratic Party in this area. So they were well known, they had a high profile. They're also well known in Williamsburg for a battle the family had with JD Rockefeller. He had this idea of recreating Colonial Williamsburg, and that meant buying up the Victorian houses in the centre, demolishing them, and then recreating what is Colonial Williamsburg. And the Armistead family were interested in doing this. I mean, it was their family home. I don't know if Cara was actually born in the house, but she was certainly there as a baby. The reason that the Rockefeller team were so interested in the Armistead house was that it was built on the site of a coffee house, and it was there that the local politicians would debate, discuss, make laws, and decide on the future of the area. So looking at Colonial Williamsburg, the site was of huge importance. Eventually, much later, a deal was struck that the house would be protected, but it would be moved out of the colonial district. You might have seen actually in documentaries how they do this in America, that the houses, mainly built in wood, would be rolled to a new location. They were built on brick foundations but then lifted and moved to a new location. And this is what happened to the Armistead house, and it was moved away from the area. Now, as I mentioned, the reason they were so keen on this house was because of the coffee house. And once the house had been moved, it was found that the foundations had been built on bricks from the colonial period. And these were reused when they recreated the coffee house, used in a fireplace. They weren't originally used in the fireplace before, so they were repurposed. And so there was a link with history. When I looked at videos of Colonial Williamsburg, it's one of those places that doesn't actually, I feel, have any age to it. It's a living museum, similar to the Black Country Museum in the UK. But of course, that museum is built from reused bricks and stone, and so it automatically has a feel, a sense of age to it, and it's impossible to do that when you're using wood. Some of the videos I watched were mentioning how they had researched the paint colours and the styling of the interior wooden floorboards and the skirting boards and the cornices, etc. So a lot of research went into it, but of course you are having to use new materials for this. And so when you look at it, it looks like it could have been built yesterday, because in historical terms, that is the case. Because in this country, when we look at houses from the Edwardian or Victorian era, we're now at a stage where we respect the interior original features, and actually it adds to the houses and it adds to the value in some instances, having an original fireplace, for instance. And of course, most of the Victorian buildings in Williamsburg were lost in this area because they were demolished. There was no sense that they should be preserved for their own merit. So the Armistead house actually became one of the few buildings that reflected this part of the area's history. It was refurbished and continues actually to be lived in today. And the last article I found about the house was that it was going to be used as a guest house. And that's actually rather a lovely connection to its history, because Cara and her sister also rented out rooms to guests. So the history has almost come full circle. And you know, as much as the Colonial Williamsburg is an immense visitor attraction and of historical importance, because it is through these living museums that we learn so much. The Armistead House is also a great example of American history, and it seems such a shame that so many similar properties were demolished so that they could recreate Colonial Williamsburg. Anyway, that's the story of the postcard that illustrates John Alden and his wife Priscilla. There's a couple more videos that connect to the Mayflower, so I hope you enjoy watching those as well. You can find me on social media as posted in the past. I'm on Twitter and Facebook, and every day I share a postcard that I have either researched and included in one of my books, or that I hope to research in the future. Thank you for watching.